On Ladder and Diamond, I get a lot of Void Ray, Carrier, Skytoss, and ZvP, but I never see it in pro play. Is there a reason why? Void Ray openers are very out of meta, if that's what you're referring to. Skytoss isn't. Like, Skytoss is still a thing in pro play. In ZvP in the late game. But getting there is typically done in a different fashion. Void Ray openers are very, like, 2022. Like, it's been a couple of years. But yeah, since then we have had some more varying openers. Void Ray openers are just very out of fashion. They can be punished a lot easier nowadays as well. But we can get into that once we get into this matchup. There you go. You know, it all comes together here as spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Oceanborn, we have our South Korean Zerg player. The red Zerg representing Talon Esports. It is Dark. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the South Korean Protoss player. The blue Protoss representing himself, but he just took down Jeshi 2-0. It is Stats. For those of you that remember, a couple of patches ago, the Void Ray was actually nerfed. Void Ray was nerfed, and kind of in that period with the change to the Void Ray and the change to the Stargate, was also the period of like hero rising to power and really having this Oracle opener come to prominence. Just triple Oracle opener into a third base into Blink Stalker play. So the meta shifted away from Void Ray openers, which used to be very meta back in the day, a couple of years ago, into Oracle and Stalker play instead. Again, that did occur. Void Ray openers, they did make a bit of a resurgence a couple of months ago. When I say a couple of months ago, I'm talking like November, December of last year. If you're familiar with Classic, Classic was very fond with Void Ray openers. Specifically, though, it's not Skytoss. A Void Ray opener is for a Void Ray first, leading into hidden tech afterwards, after you kill the Overlord. So a singular Void Ray, and then you can go into Glaive of Depths, you can go into a Charge all-in, you can go double Stargate into Carrier, like a Carrier Rush. There is a lot available there. Like, massing Void Rays early on is just really immobile, it's quite expensive, it doesn't really give you much map control, it's very all-in, and players have just gotten a lot better at scouting and punishing it in general here. It's almost never seen. It's basically never seen nowadays. Regardless, with that, we're getting into our openers. It is going to be a Hatch Gas Pool into a third base. Was a standard opener out of Dark, likewise a standard opener out of Stats as well. Do love to see it. Yo, does anyone remember like the Void Ray committed play where they would just open up like 3 Void Ray, they'd come in, they'd snipe your spawning pool? Like back then, a couple of years ago, like this spawning pool placement is brutal. You would never see it because this spawning pool placement would be exposed to Void Rays and it would get sniped. So Zerg players, they became accustomed to hiding their spawning pool behind the mineral line just because of how prevalent mass Void Ray was early on. So yeah, those were dark times. Those were very dark times. Aye. As Adepts are going to be threading the shade, it is a Stargate opener out of Stats going into Oracles. We don't really expect much deviation here from Stats in this series. He's very fond of Stargate openers into his fast third. Nexus is on the way. Oracle going to be dipping in. And we do manage to get a couple of drones here at the natural. We do get 2 worker kills. Not too bad here. Stats, he does keep the Oracle alive at least. Does keep it alive, can regenerate those shields. Meanwhile, ooh, that is a very fast Roach Warren out of Dark. Okay, so this is a 4-minute Roach Warren. And Dark, he knows it's a Stargate opener, of course, by seeing the Oracle. With a 4-minute Roach Warren, this should be leading towards a very early Roach push. We do see additional gases being taken. Queens are amassing. We are on Oceanborn. Specifically, the reason why we see a lot of Roach and Queen-based all-ins on this map on Oceanborn is because of the third base. I don't know if you realize this, but on other maps, the third will usually have a point of elevation. For example, a map like Hecate has that, where you do have a ramp leading into the third. Here, the ramp leading into the third is in the center of the map. So you can get onto the same point of elevation as the third base really early on, which means Queen Walks are ideal. Queen Walks, Roach all-ins in general can hit very hard here on Oceanborn. Shorter rush distance by ground as well. And the Queens, they are coming. Dark is all in. He's spotted. He knows. Stats knows what's going on. But a late reaction. Shield battery just now starts up. He does cancel when the main base is production build, his tech building. Going down a second shield battery, a third shield battery as well. But again, is this too late? It still takes a little bit for the Queens to get across the map, but again, they're already here. And we're ready to lay siege upon that third. Again, no point of elevation here, no high ground advantage that you otherwise would have on other maps. Ravagers are amassing, Lings are here, shield batteries, it looks like they're going to finish up just in time. We're barely finishing up the shield batteries. We do have our oracles amassing as well, no stasis traps. There we go, the army has arrived. Bile's going to be thrown down. The first cannons are finishing up as well. Can we hold on? So far, so good. We get a Queen. Queen goes down. Second Queen falls as well. Good pickoffs. Good pickoffs so far, but we're waiting out the overcharge. Overcharge now runs out, and now we can dive in. Without the overcharge, the cannons are falling. We're running out of Lings. We're running out of Lings, and Stats, he's getting on top of the Ravagers. These are big pickoffs. He's holding. He is holding on right now. Queens are falling left and right. The Ling reinforcements, they may be a little bit too late. As we focus on almost every single Queen. We have one Queen left. Lings are doing a lot of damage here. They do provide a great buffer for the Ravagers, but good target firing out of Stats. Gets another Ravager. He's being forced further back, but Dark, he's running out of steam. He's running out of units. We're down to 2 Ravagers and 1 Queen. That's all we have left. It's not enough. And Stats, he holds. I was concerned he didn't scout in time. I was concerned that, hey, seeing the army moving out would be too late. But no, he had a really good reaction. Again, did not under-prepare. 3 shield batteries, 2 extra cannons. Did cancel his Twilight Council to defend as well, to just warp in extra units. Dark, though, he does end up catching the army. There's no blink. Uh-oh. There is no blink. We catch the Stalkers. Big pick up here. Stalkers are going to be going down. A very efficient trade by Dark. And that does help make up for that failed all-in. But now Dark is droning. Dark, he's droning up back at home. Now we just start the lair. Very late lair. 7-minute 30 lair timing. Ay, ay, ay. And Dark is behind. He's in a rough place. Killing all those Stalkers helped. But tech-wise, upgrade-wise, he's on 0-0. Again, no lair. He's on 51 drones against 64 probes. Stats is getting a 4th base. Dark stuck on 3. And I worry. I worry here for Dark. Stats, he's going to be reinforcing. Does clean up all this creep. Again, very limited creep here available for Dark. He's trying to build up his defenses. Has rebuilt a lot of those Queens. But the reality is that Stats doesn't have to push in. So the win condition for Stats is deny the 4th. If he can contain Dark to 3 bases, Stats can freely take his 4th base and be the first to max out. And just max out and out macro Dark. Dark does sneak out with a couple of Lings. He's going to force a defensive warp in back at home, potentially. Shouldn't force more than that. Will we pick off a Queen? Queen does fall. The Stalkers, they do defend back at home. And yeah, there it is. GG gets called. The writing is on the wall. Dark, he cannot expand. And Stats, he takes game number 1. GG. GG, well played. A solid game there out of Stats. Able to scout the all-in in the center of the map and was able to prepare in time. Again, with the shield batteries, with the cannons. I was concerned that it was a bit of an overreaction for Stats to cancel his Twilight Council, which meant that Blink was delayed as well. But despite that, it did mean that he could afford extra warp-ins. And with that, Stats, he's 1 game away from eliminating Dark from the tournament. 1 game away. Meanwhile, Dark, the pressure is on. He has to fight back here and now to force the ace match. Again, Dark, he is a favorite to at least make it on to face off against would-be hero in the next round. But And Dark, he is the best Zerg player in all of South Korea, but he has to respect stats. You know, the all-in failed, and I doubt we're going to be seeing another all-in in this series. Like, Dark, he wanted to end it early on, but stats, he's like, mate, you're trying to cheese me out? Nah, play macro, Papi. You know, show me your best. Know your worst. Show us what you're made of. And here he is, spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of side Delta, down in this series. The best Zerg player. Oh, hold on. The best Zerg player in South Korea. The red Zerg we do have representing Talent Esports. It is Dark. Just letting Inu know. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player leading the series 1-0, surviving the all-in, defending and asserting himself in game one, proving to us all, mate, Dark, you can't just all-in stats. You gotta take it to at least the mid game. You gotta play a straight-up game here against him. He is the Shield of Ire. He is stats. Let's go. It's indeed been a while since the last Wardy stream. I hope everything is well with him. I know he was traveling abroad, right? Like he, I think he went to Disneyland. He was in America for a while. He may just be taking a break. Maybe he got, I don't know if, you know, maybe he got a little bit unwell from the trip, but I'm sure he'll be back. Alongside many of the other streamers out there, or casters. As for now, Stats going for a gate expand, standard opener out of our Protoss player. Dark, likewise, going for a hatch gas pool, standard opener as well. No early gases, no early aggression. Nothing too spicy early on. Now, that advantage that we spoke about it when it comes to Oceanborn, how you can get onto the same kind of like point of elevation as the natural and the third base in the center of the map, that isn't quite applicable here. Side Delta is one of the few maps that has a ramp leading into the natural, so it's a much more defendable base here, at least at the natural. The third is a bit more exposed, but we do have a much more narrow choke point here at both third base locations, whereas on Oceanborn, it's a lot more wide open, a lot more exposed. So all-ins are less applicable or less popular here on Side Delta. Not saying that you can't do it, but the map is working against you a little bit more. So it is a little bit harder to pull off. So most likely we're going to be seeing Dark macro up, get into 3 bases, and get into the mid game. Meanwhile, we do have a Stargate on the way. It's going to be a Stargate opener here by Stats. Going to be into Oracles, just like the last game. And this time this should lead into a third base, into 3 base saturation, and into a more back and forth, I imagine. In the chat, I'm pleasantly surprised to see how well Stats is doing. Yeah, definitely, right? Like, I mentioned in the previous series, but maybe if you weren't here for it, at least in my opinion, Stats has been improving over the past couple of months. It did feel like he was a little bit stagnant around like November, December, but post Katowice, maybe because he was motivated by IEM Katowice, Stats has been improving 100%. He's been getting better and better over the past like month, 2 months even. So it's been really cool to see Stats improve. I would still not say he's a favorite player here, but he has been getting better. And it's really cool to see. As a Stats fan. Really cool to see. We'll see how far he can go. As Lings, they do catch out the Adepts. One Adept. Ooh, the second Adept should be going down as well as we shade into the main. Oracle does dive in. We're going to get 2 drone kills, but that's a lot of hits on the Oracle. Bit of miscontrol there. Almost going for another drone. And a lot of hull damage is dealt. At the same time, because the Adepts went down, that can trigger a counterattack, and Dark threatens the third base. Thankfully, Stats stays at home with that Oracle. But Dark is coming back in. And he's waiting for the Oracle to run out of energy. And it does. It's out of energy. Dark can still threaten that third base, but we do warp in another wave of Adepts. Just in time. Dark is coming in, but Stats is in position. Now, just to briefly talk about this dynamic, because Stats lost the first 2 Adepts very prematurely, that triggered the counterattack. That's why Dark has been here. That's why he's been harassing and applying pressure to the third, but Stats holds. Does hold for now. Dark still trying to find some damage, though. is reinforcing. And thankfully, because Stats stuck around a little bit longer with these oracles, he does defend. Forces us back, and Epsay commits to the shade. We do pick off a good chunk of Lings. Behind this, Twilight Council and Forges on the way. Stats working towards +1, and I imagine Blink. I say I imagine Blink because this could also be Charge. One or the other. Blink is more standard. Lings are going to be collapsing on these units. They don't quite get us around. So far, good trades out of Stats. Doesn't quite commit. Behind this, Dark, he's getting saturated on 3 bases, getting his 4th up and running. +1 melee is on the way. For now, going for a Ling-heavy style. We should see a Roach Warren by now, and there it is. Roach Warren has been thrown down by Dark, so he's going into Ling Roach, or Ling Bane Roach at least. Once again, with the abundance of Lings, he does try to get us around. Triggers the Oracles, does trigger the Pulsar Beam, bleeding out Lings. So far, really efficient trades out of Stats. I mean, look at this. We've lost 2 Adepts and 2 Probes for 21 Lings so far. Good trades. Once again, we come in for this round. The Oracles are out of energy. The Oracles are out, but we do shade away. So again, an efficient trade here from Stats. Behind this, it is Blink, as we did mention. Again, a much more standard transition, +1 and Blink. We have a bit of a Gateway Explosion, but not much. And we're headed in towards a Templar Archives. This is going to be for Archon production, potentially even Storm. It is a little bit risky going for Storm instead of Colossus, so we'll see which one we go for. For now, at least Archons are going to be available. Meanwhile, Dark back at home, going to be droning up, still getting up to 3 base saturation, but he's droning up further than that, getting up to 4 bases. And I was waiting for his tech of choice. So far, it's been Lings and the Roach Warren, but he didn't start Roach Speed. Spire. It is going to be the Spire. It is going to be Mutas instead. So we have the safety Roach Warren, but we're not really investing into Roaches. We're holding back. We're preserving our gas in favor of Mutas. Risky move here. We've seen this before. Basically, if this Spire goes unscouted, Dark, he can pop up. He can do so much. He can gain so much value and wreak so much havoc with Mass Muta. It's going to be on Stats to scout. Now, Stats, he does have these 3 Oracles. He needs to be active. He needs to be active when it comes to not just killing workers, but scouting his opponent, trying to get a read on whether it's a Spire, maybe it's a Hydra Den, maybe it's an Infestation Bit for fast Hive Tech, for Ultras. It could be anything. Stats needs to figure it out. But now he doesn't. And the Spire is about to finish. We do have a big Ling Roach run by, or yeah, counterattack here towards the center. Not the most committed push. Remember, we don't even have Roach Speed. Oracles are getting into the main. We get the Revelation at the 4th. We get eyes on the lack of saturation, at least at the 4th base. Dark is droning. Rabbi comes in. We do get a Revelation in the main. We're headed towards the natural. 13 meters are on the way, and we miss the Spire. Revelation barely does not see it.
The enemy has discovered us.
As I say that, yeah, the Oracles are being focused down. We are making a safety Phoenix, thankfully. It looks like we've seen a lot, and we haven't seen much. I mean, that tells us something in a sense. So that Stats, he sees all the tech, he sees the gases, did not spot any Hydrogen or Infestation Pit. He's reading that it could be a Spire, is making that call. And Phoenixes are amassing. Yeah, Mutas are popping out. They're now revealed. They're on the way. Now Stats knows. And we're throwing down cannons. We're throwing down shield batteries. Mutas are headed for the natural, but we are in position. We are ready for it. Yeah, plenty of Stalkers. We dive on top of those Mutas. They're not really getting much damage done. Not getting much done. We forced a second shield, second Stargate and a Fleet Beacon as well. Now the thing is that Stats didn't know how many Mutas there were. We do get 6-7 probe kills. We do get away. Looking at the units last time, that was 7 probes for 3 Mutas. Pretty good trade so far by Dark. And he's committing. +1 air attack. Again, we're just completely skipping Roach Speed. It's just pure Ling Muta. And now that Stats saw the size of the Muta flock, now we're getting to the second Stargate. We're going to deny +1. We're trying to. +1, it's so low, and it's going to be shut down. We deny +1 air attack. Ling's threatening a dive as well. The wall is solid. We force the overcharge. We dive on top of the Phoenixes. We get 1. 1 Phoenix goes down. Shield battery gets targeted as well. And Dark, he might just have too much. He's going to overwhelm this army. Yeah, Lings, they're flooding on forward. They get on top of the Stalkers. We needed the Archons. Storm is done, but we needed the Archons. We needed the Storm. It might be a little bit too late as we break into the main. Again, we're just a little bit too far behind. GG gets called, and Dark overwhelms Stats and takes game number 2. GG. GG, well played. Again, Stats, he did accurately kind of determine, like he deduced that it was going to be a Spire. He was ready for mutas, but he wasn't ready for committed mutas the way that Dark went for it. He just made mass muta, was able to break through. Honestly, I do think that Stats could have held in a head-on engagement, in a head-to-head fight, if only Stats had his Archons and High Templar. Remember, he kept his Archons and High Templar at his 4th. He had them at his fresh mining base, which is why it took them so long to rotate over once he realized that Dark was committing to his push at the natural. So the Archons and the High Templar, they were late. Essentially, they were late to the party. If they were there a little bit sooner, if they were there to begin with, then the Storms would have shut down the Ling Muta. Ling Muta, it's so fragile, it's so vulnerable. Storms would have been amazing there, but Stats just didn't have the opportunity to really make use of that. Unfortunately, GG. GG, well played. We're going to the ace match. We're going to game number 3. Let's go. Oh, they're talking about the list. I'll say what's been said about the GOAT list. You're talking about the TL Meisenhower GOAT list. You know, it's just you know, a very subjective opinionated list. I have my own thoughts about it. I don't really pay it too much mind. It's not like official by any means or anything like that. It's just some guy's opinion, and I mean, you know, he can have it, right? Everyone has their biases. Everyone has their favorite players and stuff like that. It's, you know, he does have a bigger platform to voice that opinion, and maybe that's why people are like, yo, TL is saying this. It's like, kind of, not really. You know what you can do? We can make our own tier list. We can make our own tier list. It's all good. It's all good. Don't have to get too upset about it. Even though I don't agree with it. I don't agree with that tier list, but it's fine. It's fine. Whatever he wants. But here we go. We're getting into game number 3, and spawning in the bottom right-hand corner of Hardlead, we have our South Korean Zerg player. The red Zerg representing Talon Esports. It is Dark. Tying up the series 1-1, forcing the ace match, and spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the South Korean Protoss player. The blue Protoss representing himself, currently teamless, being forced into the ace match. It is Stats. Here we go. So we are settling in. And again, we're going to be spawning into Hardlead. Hardlead, the shortest rush distance map in the map pool. It is a very aggressive map in general. The rush distance by ground is disgustingly short, and because of that, all-ins are possible. In saying that, I don't want to harp too much on that, because as we saw in game 1, even if the map is working in your favor, even if it's a late scout and a late realization of what's happening, Stats is still the shield of Ire, and his defensive play is still on point. So Dark embracing an all-in here in the ace match, I feel like, especially after game 1, probably isn't going to happen. Most likely will not occur here. I know that Dark is unpredictable. That is true. I know that he's a very chaotic player. True, but I'll say that at least, that we most likely won't see an all-in here. We shouldn't, I should say. We'll see. We'll see. For now, Stargate opener. It's going to be another Stargate opener here from Stats. There's going to be a Stargate opener here from Stats. Should be for Oracles initially. Should be for Oracles. Should be for Oracles into a third base. Likewise, Dark getting into his own 3-base setup as well. Everything looking as it should. Looking as it should here. as Stats is going to be backing up, getting into his Oracle production. What I will say is that Stats wasn't able to accomplish too much harassment with his Oracles and Adepts in the last game. Was able to pick up a couple of drones here and there, but nothing too major. Again, Dark, known for his Queen defense, is what he does excel in. And that Queen defense is going to be put to the test once again. Adept threatening a Shade. Overlord being forced back. Stats investing in, Dark investing into additional Lings just to be safe against the Adept. And the first Oracle has arrived, does reveal itself here to Dark. First Oracle moves out. Likewise, Dark fanning out his Lings, hoping to delay the third base, but this time Stats has kept both Adepts alive. But did I speak too soon? The Lings, they dive on top of the probe and they will get a kill. They do delay the third base at least by a couple of seconds. Not a bad pick off there by Dark. Oracle moving out across the map. So do you see Stats just rotating around with said Oracles. Again, still just sharking around looking for damage. Likewise, Stats poised for a counterattack here at the third. We'll see how this dynamic plays out. So far, Oracles, they dive into the natural. Spore finishes up just in time. We get one, we get two, we get three. 4 drone kills here at the natural, but the Queen comes in from behind. We get a kill on the Oracle. Not so worth it for Stats. Trading 1 Oracle for 5 drones. It's an okay amount of damage, but Oracles, they have so much utility here in PvZ. Losing one early on is huge. Meanwhile, Lings, they try to go for a run by. The Adepts, they do hold strong. 2 Adepts get surrounded, but we will defend the third. We will hold on to that third base. Stats down to 2 Oracles, not replacing the one he just lost. And it is going to be a Lair first here from Dark. Lair into Evo Chambers. Interesting. Into double Evo Chamber. I'm curious. Stasis Trap into the main base. Darky does react in time. Do have Adepts threading a Shade towards the natural. We don't commit. Again, so far, Dark defending well for himself. But going double Evo Chamber, I'm curious if this is going to be for 1-1. I'm curious if this is intentional. There we go. I was very perplexed. We canceled the Evo Chamber. I think that was supposed to be the Roach Warren. Because the Roach Warren should be on the way right now. Lined up with the Lair. Oh boy. The gases are being taken. Lair's going to finish. We're not going Roaches. This could be Ling Hydra. I guess we could go for a Spire as well, but I'm leaning towards Hydras here in game number 3. Behind this, Stats taking it in an interesting direction as well. As we wait for Dark to throw down his tech of choice, and there it is. It is going to be Ling Hydra, as we did mention, with all those gases. We do see Stats skipping his tech, or skipping his upgrade. Twilight Council has been done for a while now. No blink, no charge. Instead, we're going into faster Templar Archives and a faster Robo. This should be for a faster Robotics Bay. Like, if we're skipping our upgrade in such a fashion, we're most likely using it to invest elsewhere. Oh, we forgot it. Blink is now on the way. Blink is now on the way. Very late Blink here from Stats, but I'm curious if we're going to make use of this Robo and if we're going to throw down a Bay a little bit faster instead. I am curious. Otherwise, he may have just forgotten that Blink. I'm curious and I'm concerned. Oracle's going to be zoned away. Dark joining up to 80. Joining up very nicely here. And we're not going for Colossi, we're going for Storm. Now, based on the resources that have been banking up here, I don't think it was intentional here that we forgot Blink. I think that was a bit of a slip up there by Stats, and because of that, he can't be active. Because of this, Stats is stuck at home. He's stuck defending back at home here with the minimal amount of units. Dark knocking down these rocks, droning up happily here up to 80, getting into Lurker production as well. Rushing into Hydra Lurker. We catch a couple units here in the center. Adepts and Stalkers go down. And can we cancel the 4th? We get a surround and we should force a cancel. That's a kill! No! That's a kill, not a cancel. Big loss there for Stats. 400 minerals down the drain. And Stats, he doesn't even have Blink. He can't counterattack. He doesn't have Blink. He's just stuck at home. Yeah, he's stuck defending. And Dark, he's free to just take on up. I do like this. Stats, I think this could have been a little bit earlier, but recognizing that he's stuck at home, recognizing that he's defending, we have a Stargate and a Fleet Beacon. We're trying to get into Skytoss. Carriers are on the horizon, but this tech is late. The production is late. It's going to take a while to really get into carriers. Until then, Dark has already been free to do whatever he wants, and Dark is about to max out. He's about to max out here with a Lurker tech. With Hydra Lurker Viper, the Hive is about to finish. Then we can get into Lurker upgrades. Blink is finally done, by the way. He is finally done. But Dark, he can have his way with this. Should be forcing out a Storm. Okay, 1, 2 Storms going to be thrown down. We have a couple left. But we're getting on top of those Stalkers. Being forced back. Again, respecting the High Templar. Carriers are now on the way. And Dark, he's remaxing with Pure Ling. Again, baiting out Storms. Bearing in mind that we haven't seen a single Storm on the Hydras. It's only been on Lings, and we're running out of energy here. I mean, we still have like 2, maybe soon to be 3 Storms left. But Dark preserving his Hydras. Getting into his Lurker tech. Getting into his Lurker tech. We have a Night Storm on the way. I believe Dark has not seen the transition. Yeah, he hasn't seen the carrier production whatsoever. Doesn't know what's going on. But I'm not sure if he really cares here as he's busting on through. Laying siege upon that center base, and he is within range of the Mineral Line. Probes are going down. And we're breaking this base. And 2 carriers is not going to be enough. We get some decent Storms here on the Lurkers, but Lurkers are a little bit tanky. They can take the Storms to the face. Now we're out of Storm. We're out of Storm, and just when we needed it the most. There we go. The 1 Storm here on the Lings. The carriers have arrived, but the base goes down. Stats' 4th has been denied. Zealot Runby coming in towards the center is going to get some damage done, true. But Dark, he can afford these losses, and he will defend. He will clean up these Zealots. Saving the base, only losing 5 drones. Stats desperately trying to retake another base. Trying to reclaim that 4th, but alas. It's gonna be a tough ask here. As Stats, sure, he's getting into carriers, but he needs a 4th. He needs an economy to sustain himself. As Stats, he can't max out. He cannot max out, not anytime soon. And the Lurkers are slowly encroaching here upon the bases. Spire is now on the way for Corruptors. Queens are pushing forward to support. Hydras are on the way as well. We have 24 Hydras. And Stats, he's in a world of hurt right now. He's going to try to hold on. Does throw down the slow zone. But the Yoink comes in. We focus down the mothership. Minus 300, minus 300. We get a carrier as well. Now we are still on 4 carriers. The Hydras are thinning out. Clutch transfuse. And the Lurkers are trying to force the issue. Diving on the army. The Queens of transfuse were quite clutch as well, keeping those Hydras alive a little bit longer, maintaining themselves. More Hydras on the way. You can see that Dark, he isn't maxing out. He's, I think, waiting for the Spire, squeezing out a couple of Hydras. Lurkers are being focused down. We're getting on top of the Queens, but here come the reinforcements. The Hydras, they made it. And they're getting the Interceptors. We're running out of Interceptors, running out of DPS here. Yeah, Stats. He just cannot contest against this. Hydra Lurker Viper isn't ideal against Skytoss, but again, we barely had any Skytoss. Barely had anything left. We yoink in, and 2 more, 3 more. Every single carrier gets yoinked. Everything gets focused down, and with that, Dark, he will be taking this. Was forced to the ace match. Stats, he showed that, hey, you can't 2-base all in him. But in these longer games, Dark comes out on top. GG gets called, and Dark takes the series 2-1. GG, well played. Congratulations here to Dark. My condolences to Stats. But again, Stats did force an ace match, and he didn't look too bad at all in that first game. Here in game 3, it did feel like Stats was making a couple of mistakes there that were capitalized on, whether it's losing the first Oracle, whether it's the late Blink. Again, because Blink was late, he was stuck at home. Like Stats, he was barely active on the map. He was stuck at home the entire game, and it did feel like once he realized that Blink was late and that he had no map control, he was forced to try to turtle up and go into Sky Toss after losing the 4th. Like, that was brutal. So, yeah, it did feel like Sky Toss was the only answer for Stats in that situation, but it was never the initial plan. It was never the initial goal at least. Just something that Stats was forced into because of the game state and because of how things were unfolding. And with that, GG. GG, well played. Dark does take it, and now we're getting ready here for our next series. We're getting ready for our next match. Oh, should